morning, everybody. Welcome to the Waterland hearing. It's our first hearing for 2023. This session, I'm happy to be serving as your chair of Waterland Committee. And just to open it up, I'd like to ask the committee members to introduce themselves. So I'll start with my last name.
Sonny Ganadin, District 30, representing Kalihi Kai, Pearl Harbor, Echo.
Mahina Poi Poi representing District 13.
Kanani Souza representing District 43, Kapolea Makakilo.
And D. Morikawa, District 17 on the island of Kauai.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Without further ado, we'll start off with our 9 a.m. agenda. First up, we have House Bill 15. We have testimony from Councilmember Calvin Smith on Zoom. Not here? Okay. Written testimony in support. That's all the written testimony received. Anybody else here would like to offer testimony on House Bill 15? Okay. Sorry, members, we don't have anybody to ask questions of, so we're going to move on to House Bill 109. House Bill 109 relating to county zoning. First up, we have Alex April from Airbnb. Testimony, submitting comments. Also from Airbnb, David Louie.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me apologize for the length of the written testimony I submitted. I apologize for it. But let me summarize what's in there. It's really very simple. This bill raises issues of fundamental rights that are in the Constitution that protect people and their use of property. And those rights are actually codified by the state of Hawaii and by the legislature in HRS 46-4. And so this bill seeks to change 46-4, but that's only half the picture. It doesn't really affect the constitutional rights, which are underlying and have been long-standing. And so those rights still remain. What this bill really does is it seeks to allow the counties to regulate short-term rentals and to allow amortization or reduction or prevent people from using their property in certain ways. But many people have been using their property lawfully for many, many years for short-term rentals. And so the legislature has an obligation, although this is really a county problem, and the county, I believe, is the one probably behind this. The legislature has an obligation to make sure that bills that it passes and legislation is constitutional. And this legislation is not. It won't pass muster. It's going to lead to unintended consequences. First, it's going to conflict with the landlord-tenant code because, if people try and regulate things like the city has tried to regulate short-term rentals for under 90 days, the landlord-tenant code allows you to do things like that. This is going to negatively impact families that need housing for short-term periods for whatever reason, if they've been displaced or if they're traveling for medical care, and it's going to affect workers who come into the Hawaii, like nurses who come in on short-term bases and need housing. So there's a lot of unintended consequences. This is going to lead to litigation in which the state may become embroiled, and that's always a bad thing generally to involve litigation. And so we would urge that you hold this bill. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Louie. Okay, next we have testimony from Gerard Silva in opposition. Is there anyone else who would like to offer testimony on House Bill 109? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to House Bill 562. Relating to permits, first up we have testimony from Department of Water and Land and Chair Chang or her representative.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the City. Cardi Chang, Chief Engineer for DNR. We stand on our written testimony offering comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have testimony from Department of Education, Kurt Otoguro.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Kurt Otoguro, Deputy Superintendent for the Department of Education. We stand on our testimony and support the intent of the bill. We did offer some comments and look forward to some interaction with regard to some of the details on the permitting process for the counties and the state. So we're here to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have testimony from Department of Planning and Permitting, Curtis Lum, City and County of Honolulu. Okay, in opposition, and Chad Keone Farias, School Facilities Authority.
Good morning, Chair Chiyama, Vice Chair Poipoi. My name is Chad Keone Farias, Executive Director of the School Facilities Authority. We stand in support of House Bill 562 and will be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. All the written testimony we received on House Bill 562. Yep. Members, I'm sorry, is there anyone else who would like to offer testimony on House Bill 562? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? No? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna move on to House Bill 365, relating to special management areas. First, we have testimony from Office of Planning and Sustainable Development, Scott Glenn.
Hi, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and council members. Our office stand on the written testimony.
Thank you. Next, we have testimony from Chair Alice Lee, Maui County Council, on Zoom.
Not present.
Okay, testimony in support. And testimony from Curtis Lum, Department of Planning and Permitting. Submitting comments. That's all the written testimony we have on House Bill 365. Anyone else wishing to offer testimony? House Bill 365? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, moving on to House Bill 201, relating to historic preservation. Testimony from Chair Don Chang from DLNR or her representative. DLNR submitted comments. House Bill 201. Thank you, Mr. Downer. Okay, next we have testimony from Kirsten Faulkner, Historic Hawaii Foundation. Offering testimony in opposition, Aaron Mahi from Ko'olau Foundation. In opposition, Lindsay Garcia, Hawaii Realtors. Okay, thank you. Ryan Sakuda, General Contractors Association of Hawaii. In support. Stephanie Sakamoto, BIA.
Good morning. On behalf of BIA Hawaii, we stand in support. We'll stand in our written testimony available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from Jennifer Camp, NIAP Hawaii chapter.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. My name is Evan Oe. I'm from Imanaka Nasato on behalf of NIAP Hawaii. We stand in strong support of this measure as it does seek to really help, I think, relieve the backlog of permit review projects that are going through. Ideally, will help with minimize the scope of review in a sense, while still, having criteria in place to allow for the preservation of historic properties. Most of Hawaii's housing stock is aging, as we know, and many of it can fall into the definition of 50 years. And this has actually led into, permits being upheld for, simple home renovations in terms of, it'll take a substantial amount of time to, build a fence on a historic property just because it's over 50 years and it doesn't really have any historical value. So, those are a few points, and we just want to, help in any way that we can and support any measure that really will help expedite that process. So, available for any questions you guys may have, and happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Finally, we have testimony from Matthew Popovich, Hawaii YIMBY. Testimony in support. Anyone else wishing to offer testimony on House Bill 201? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Well, I have a quick question for Shipti. Thank you very much, Mr. Downer, for being here today. I was wondering if Shipti has looked at other states' and their definitions of historic property? And is it typically just a set amount of years, or do they consider other factors like historical significance, traditional, cultural significance? What do other states do?
Thank you for that question, ma'am. I'm Alan Down. I'm the administrator of the State Historic Preservation Division. I have not looked at all states, but every state I'm familiar with relies on a definition that includes both age and the characteristics of the property. Is it associated with important events, important historical, important individuals, architecturally distinguished, and so on? I'm not aware of any state that relies, except for Hawaii, that relies just on an age criterion.
Okay.
And if I might comment, the legislature 7 years ago exempted most private residences from review by SHPD. So it must be a listed property for it to be subject to our review.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to House Bill 202, relating to historic preservation reviews. Testimony from Kirsten Faulkner, Historic Hawaii Foundation, and opposition. Ryan Sakuda, General Contractors Association of Hawaii. Malcolm Bakarse Jr., Associated Builders and Contractors, Hawaii Chapter. Stephanie Sakamoto, BIA Hawaii.
Good morning, Stephanie Sakamoto on behalf of BIA Hawaii. We'll stand on our written testimony and support available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sakamoto. And then finally, NIAP Hawaii Chapter.
Evan O again on behalf of NAP Hawaii. Similar to HB 201, we support this measure as we feel that third-party reviews, and that having the ability to do so will help expedite the process, and while preserving the quality of these reviews, as SHPD will be able to select the qualifications in which these third-party consultants will have to comply with to conduct. So, again, support this measure as we can do anything that we can do to help. So, available for questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
That's all the written testimony we have on House Bill 202. Anybody else wishing to testify on House Bill 202? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We'll move on to House Bill 361, relating to the Green Jobs Youth Corps. First up, Chair Don Chang, DLNR.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Josh Allen on behalf of DLNR will stand on our testimony and report and are available for questions.
Thank you. Next, Claudia Rackklotch, Hawaii State Energy Office.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Claudia Rathcock on behalf of the Hawaii State Energy Office. We stand in support of this measure and our written testimony.
Thank you, Ms. Rathcock. Evan Chang, Kua'aina Ulu Amo. In support, Kavika Riley from Kupu.
Aloha, Chair Ichiyama, Vice Chair Poi Poi, and honorable members of the House Water and Land Committee. My name is Kavika Riley. I'm a Vice President with the nonprofit Kupu. Kupu will stand on its written testimony, but we just wanted to let you know we're here to answer any questions you may have. We've had the honor of partnering with DLNR to administer the Green Job Youth Corps, which is currently in its first year, and we're seeing some great results for the young adults who are participating, as well as the environmental and economic changes that they're working to drive. So thank you for introducing this bill, and we're available for any questions. Mahalo.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Next, Nature Conservancy, Anthony Ching. Support, Kolamua Collective, Josh Wish.
Josh Wish with Villanova Collective. We stand on our testimony and support the program.
Thank you. Reuse Hawaii, Quinn Vitam. In support.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Really appreciate the time to look at this bill. We're really excited about the Green Jobs Corps. As a host site, we've had the opportunity to train and employ people in the green jobs sector, and it's for our work, it's around waste reduction in the circular economy. And folks have really gotten a ton out of it, learning everything from equipment maintenance to the retail part that we function, and deconstruction, which is an alternative to demolition. And I know there's all kinds of different host sites and different things that people can do, including, you know, working on fish ponds and doing conservation work. And so strongly support this measure, and happy to help tell more stories about what it's like to be a host site if you'd like. Mahalo.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have Sherry Pollack, 350 Hawaii. In support, Jason Fujimoto, HPM Building Supply. Support, Caroline Carl. In support, Suzanne Frazier, Beach Environmental Awareness Campaign, Hawaii. Actually, we need to give it to the clerk.
Hello, Chair Ichiyama, Vice Chair Poipoe, and committee members. My name is Suzanne Fraser. I'm the co-founder and president of Beach Environmental Awareness Campaign Hawaii Beach, an award-winning 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings awareness and solutions to plastic marine debris since being founded in 2006. I'm testifying today on the Green Jobs Bill HB 361. Beach is currently a host site for the Kupuaina Core program, and I am the site supervisor. We had a participant complete her year-long program on Saturday, and the handout that you're getting now is something she wrote about what she learned and the achievements and how she changed over the year. Beach also participated in the 2020 program and had 3 participants who completed that program as well, and we also have another person finishing in May. All have benefited immensely from the training and work with us, and we have also benefited from having paid staff help us with this work, and I want to thank the legislature for providing the funding for these programs. We have had difficulties with COVID-19 in raising funds and having people available to volunteer, and this Green Job program has been very important for our continued work in the field of marine debris. We are researching the sources of plastic marine debris in order to identify solutions so that we can protect Hawaii's marine life and environment. And we've made a huge lot of progress over the past year because of this program. And we still have a lot more work to do, and it would be very sad if we were not able to continue receiving the support through the Kupuaina Core program. The training and education we provide to participants is very unique and not available in their university programs. Participants come in knowing not very much about plastic marine debris and leave with a lot of knowledge. In addition to the training, it's not just about plastic, but it's also about job skills that are important for any position they might have afterwards: communication, gratitude, appreciation, work ethics, leadership, how to give and receive feedback and instructions, and so much more. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to give testimony in strong support of HB 361.
Thank you very much, Ms. Frazier. Hawaii Green Fee Coalition. In support, Gerard Silva. In opposition, Tom Kaufman. In support. Anybody else wishing to offer testimony on House Bill 361? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Yep, go ahead.
Maybe for Mr. Long from Kupu.
Hello, Representative. I'm Kuvika Riley, not John, obviously, but happy to answer any questions you have for Kupu.
Yeah, apologies. I can't figure it out from the testimony, how does this program differentiate from the federal program, AmeriCorps?
Thank you for that question. So AmeriCorps, the big fundamental difference is that AmeriCorps is a national service, so a very different, a completely different funding source, and not really designed to be a workforce development program. Kupu is familiar with AmeriCorps because we operate an AmeriCorps-funded national service conservation program. Kupuaina Corps, which is the program through which we administer the Green Job Youth Corps, is instead about workforce development. So the participants will commonly they'll be a little bit older. This isn't necessarily their first job, but often their first job in sustainability or conservation. and they're looking to make changes to become a permanent part of the sustainability workforce. So we have different ways that we incentivize the host sites and design the program to help them develop into young professionals.
Would this compete with the process that you have right now for getting these AmeriCorps employees?
No, it wouldn't. So it's important to emphasize that AmeriCorps participants are not employees. Under federal law, they're not considered to be workers or employees. Rather, they're completing national service, which is something in between a volunteer experience and kind of the employment or labor that you would see in something like the Green Job Youth Corps. These are very different types of experience for AmeriCorps. For the programs that we run, for example, it's much more hands-on, kind of pick in hand, work out in the trail, much more manual labor, often a younger demographic. For Green Job Youth Corps, the work settings could be outside, but also you're gonna see folks working in an office setting. You're gonna see more sophisticated types of work being done there because they're further along in their career. So the way that I would look at it, Representative, is really they're complementary. We have two different types of programs, both of which have a direct hands-on positive environmental impact for Hawaii, but they're designed for young adults who are at different stages of their careers.
And then one last question. How are you going to determine pay?
Right now, pay is set for our current participants. If we should have the privilege of continuing to partner with DLNR to administer the Green Job Youth Corps, one of the things we want to do is to set a pay range. So we would work in partnership with the host sites, some of which you heard from today, and depending on the sophistication of the work, the pay range would sort of have a scale with higher end, of course, for folks that are doing more sophisticated work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, Rep. McCollum.
Yeah, thanks. So he mentioned pay, but also do these workers have benefits?
Yes, they do. Thank you for that question, Representative. So our workers all do have benefits. So there is a salary that they're paid for the work they're doing. It is a job. It's developmental, but it's labor nonetheless. They also receive fringe benefits. And I think one of the most important benefits that they receive in addition to those things is they're able to go through training, some of which is provided by Kupu, some of which is provided by their host site. One of the things, there are a lot of organizations that apply to participate in the Green Job Youth Corps. It's a popular program. So one of the things that we look for when we're considering host sites is whether or not this host site really can demonstrate that they're ready to invest in this young adult. We don't want host sites that are simply trying to utilize their labor and then turn them away. We want folks that are looking to sort of apprentice the next generation of sustainability professionals. So if they show us in the application and we ask for this, trainings, certain types of opportunities that really invest in the human capital of that potential worker, they're more likely to be able to participate in the program. We also ask and look for what types of policies and practices they have set up to make it more likely that this young adult can stay at that host site. So if they express a commitment to trying to hire that young person, or at least give them access and preference to help them stay at that conservation organization or sustainability organization, they're more likely to participate. And if I may, we almost all of our participants are still in the program right now. We're still in our first year, but we have a set of the early starts who just graduated just last week. I was looking at the
from where?
From this program, Representative, and I was looking at the exit survey data, and for the 10 exit surveys that I looked at, 70% or 7 of those graduates they were immediately going on to a full-time, long-term position in sustainability. So they were moving immediately from graduating from our program into a long-term position, which is really what we hope for. 2 of the other participants had found work, but it wasn't in conservation, energy, or sustainable ag. And then the other folks were going on to higher education. So
Okay, let's go to the other end. How
Yes.
does one get into the program?
We sort of serve as a matchmaker. So this is similar to the system that we put in place for when we ran the Kupu Aina Corps in 2020. We simultaneously advertise for participants and for host sites. We have an online application process. We do the initial vetting, and then it's sort of, we describe it as matchmaking. So we look at the interests and the capacity of the applicant and the interests and capacity of the host site, and then we match them up for interviews. Ultimately, the host site and the applicant both have to agree that they want to work together, and after that, they're oriented and trained by Kupu and then placed into their position.
Okay, I'm just worried about someone who's coming straight out of high school. How would he or she know where to look for something like this?
Yeah, a great question. So I can tell you from our first year, the good news is we had a lot of applicants. So many folks found out about this program and applied. We advertise through our website, our social media. We have a strong social media presence. Many of the participants that I've talked to heard about us on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. So that's a common thing. We have a small, as a nonprofit, we have a small advertising budget, but we've also tried to get the word out through traditional media as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none.
Oh.
Oh,
Can you clarify the type of work that these students engage in? It seems like it ranges from research to working, actually physical labor. Can you
Mhm.
clarify? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rep. Souza. So to be clear, this is not a student-based program. These are young professionals who often have been in the workforce for a few years, and they're seeking to transition into a sustainability-focused career or transition to working at a sustainability-focused organization. According to, and this is set by the statutory language around the Green Job Youth Corps, they need to work in one of three areas. So it's either conservation, sustainable agriculture, or energy sustainability. And within that, their work can really vary. We have folks that are doing work of an administrative nature. We have folks that are doing sort of outreach and planning and design. We also have some participants who are doing, very hands-on sort of conservation work or work in a laboratory setting. So the work can really vary. The type of, hands-on, say, your day is spent out in a trail, that kind of programming would be with a different program that Kupu helps to administer. This one is more focused on, folks that are a little bit further along in their career.
Thank you for clarifying that, and especially that they're not students.
Yeah.
It feels that way.
Thank you, Representative. Sorry for any of that.
Representative? Did you have any?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Seeing no other questions, thank you very much, Kavika. I appreciate it.
Thank you, committee members.
Okay, let's move on to House Bill 184 relating to commercial ocean recreation. Chair Don Chang from DLNR. Oh,
Good morning, Representative Ichiyama and members of the committee. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We oppose this legislation because we believe that really is a jurisdiction of the Coast Guard. And we don't feel that it's necessary for DLNR to be regulating this. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have testimony from Mike Kelly, Kanapali Surf Club. In opposition, James Kuhn, Ocean Tourism Coalition.
Good morning, Chair Ishiyama, Vice Chair Poi Poi, members of the committee. My name is Jim Kuhn, and I'm the president of the Ocean Tourism Coalition. And we're in opposition to this bill. The Ocean Tourism Coalition represents about 300 ocean operators throughout the state. And while the intent of House Bill 184 is commendable, to ensure it's the right intent, it's not necessary for vessels that have been inspected by the United States Coast Guard. The bill, first of all, the bill overlaps with the current regulations set by the Coast Guard. They have regulations in place to ensure safety of passengers. This is the U.S. Coast Guard, these are the feds, and they're very, very strict. Here's some of the current regulations that we deal with the Coast Guard. First of all, the Coast Guard determines the number of crew and what their training would be on our vessels. Secondly, we have quarterly safety drills. We have CPR certification for our crew members, bi-monthly inspections, life raft inspections, life vest inspections, drug testing, and the U.S. Coast Guard currently requires us to conduct snorkel and distress drills and snorkel incident questionnaires. Anytime there's a medical emergency, the captain must notify the Coast Guard and file a comprehensive report with the Coast Guard outlining every aspect of the medical emergency and the steps taken to resolve and mitigate the emergency. Every serious medical emergency is investigated by the Coast Guard. Second, the bill's requirement, and I might mention that it's worth knowing that DLNR will not issue a commercial operating permit unless we have the current U.S. Coast Guard certificate of inspection approval. Second, the bill's requirement that each vessel used by commercial operators to transport customers must have an automated external defibrillator on board may not be practicable for certain types of vessels, such as ocean rafts and open motorboats. These vessels are considered wet vessels, and to just put a finer point on this, the AED is high voltage electricity. So if you're standing in salt water using an AED, you're not only going to kill the person you're trying to help, but probably the crewman too. So that's just an important point. So it could be a safety concern itself. Therefore, the OTC respectfully requests that Section 200A of the bill be amended as follows. Each commercial, and you can read that what we said, that we provided that this subsection shall not apply to vessels inspected by the United States Coast Guard. So, thank you so much for this opportunity to appear before you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuhn. Next we have Denver Saxton Kuhn in opposition.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Just here in support of OTC's testimony in opposition to the bill. Unnecessary. Our vessels are subchapter T vessels inspected by the United States Coast Guard. So we have, again, all the safety regulations that Jim Kuhn just mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Zachary LaPrade from Calypso Charters.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for your service. My name is Zachary LaPrade. I'm with Calypso Charters and Quicksilver Charters, a family-owned and operated business operating out of Maui. I'm here to testify in support of Ocean Tourism Coalition and the DLNR. They spoke well and hit all the points I intended to hit. I just wanted to note that in the existing bill, it seems to me they tried to include a carve-out for United States Coast Guard vessels, but it doesn't seem like they achieved that when they proposed the bill, because the United States Coast Guard auxiliary unit is not an accurate description of what we're regulated by. That's actually a different arm of the United States Coast Guard. So we would like to offer, in addition to the language offered in the Ocean Tourism Coalition testimony, as an amendment to the bill. So if you have any questions from an operator in that area, I'd be glad to ask them. Otherwise, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. LaPrade. Bill Casper, Momolo Charters, offering testimony in opposition. And finally, Holly Hokinson, individual in support. All the written testimony we have on House Bill 184. Anybody else wishing to testify? House Bill 184. Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Gamida?
Ms. Chang from the DLNR. Chair Chang. Yeah.
Not yet. Subject to confirmation.
That's right. That's right. Apologies. Yeah, spread that in the news. We haven't met each other, but hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just to re-educate myself, where are the jurisdictional boundaries between state and federal waters?
And I have brought up a much more learned person than me. This
Hello,
is Ed
good morning.
Underwood, our administrator.
Administrator with the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. State waters goes out to 3 miles, and then exceeding 3 miles is federal waters.
Am I mistaken in reading that this bill is more aimed towards individuals rather than vessels? A lot of the testimony has to do with the Coast Guard's regulation of vessels, but it seems like this bill is regulated towards individuals, having like trained individuals on there for in the case of an emergency.
I believe it's trained individuals in the use of an AED or administering oxygen. And we don't feel that that's an additional requirement necessary on top of what the federal government already requires.
Does the federal government currently require those things of individuals who man these vessels?
No, I don't believe so, but they have other requirements, for instance, CPR, first aid, life-saving equipment and that sort of thing. So so last year we had 5 fatalities in Hawaii, 2 of which were related to vessels. One was a person went overboard off the bow and got hit by the boat, and the second one was related to a commercial vessel where they inadvertently backed over their crew. So in those situations, this wouldn't help. Most of what we're seeing is in water, like loss of snorkelers, scuba divers, that sort of thing. And we feel this is just overburdensome for commercial operators. And if we limit it to only 6-pack vessels, which are uninspected, you're talking about the smallest boats we have on the ocean. So, and like Mr. Kuhn said, now you're dealing in a wet environment and on. We don't feel it be warranted.
Will this affect people who have, say, a commercial fishing license, who occasionally assist with like canoe races and water safety things, like, you know, the hundreds of boats that help out with the Molokai Hoi every year, that kind of thing?
We don't really consider them commercial vessels, so I don't believe it would apply, but if they're using those small boats for a commercial purpose, then it very well could.
Would that be a commercial purpose?
Well, anytime you carry passengers for hire, then yes, you're considered commercial. But in those situations, it's so far and few between, their boats aren't even registered commercially.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Members, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Moving on to House Bill 200. We have testimony, sorry Chair, you're back up again. DLNR.
Again, good morning, Chair Chiyama, members of the committee. We support this measure and stand on our testimony.
Thank you.
Thank
Next,
you.
we have testimony from Philip Fernandez, Hawaii Fishermen's Alliance for Conservation and Tradition. Testimony in support, Gerard Silva in individual opposition. Anybody else wishing to offer testimony on House Bill 200? Okay, seeing none, members, any questions? Next, moving on to House Bill 153, testimony from Chair Don Chang, DLNR.
Aloha, Chair Ichiyama, Vice Chair Poipoi, and members. Kaleo Manuel, Deputy with the Water Commission. The department strongly supports the intent and offers some amendments in our testimony. Other than that, we stand on our testimony and here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you.
Director. Okay. Gerard Silva in opposition. It's all the written testimony we have on House Bill 153. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, moving on to House Bill 88. This is relating to coastal erosion. Testimony from Scott Glenn, Office of Planning and Sustainable Development.
Yes, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and the members of the committee. Our office stand on our written.
Thank you very much. Next, we have testimony from Doland Eversole, University of Hawaii.
Yes, Roland Eversole with University of Hawaii. Thank you, members of the committee. I wanted to let you know we'll stand on our written testimony. I don't really have any formal comments, but UH will stand on our written testimony, and I'm available to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Eversole. Okay, that's all the written testimony we have on House Bill 88. Anyone else wishing to offer testimony? Saying none, members, any questions? Oh.
Chair Chiyama, DLNR did submit testimony. I'm sorry if you did not receive it. Our testimony was written testimony, and then we offered some comments. I'm sorry that you didn't get it. We'll make sure that Did you get it?
No problem. Would you like to elaborate, since we
Okay.
haven't had the benefit of reading it?
Sure. We support the measure, but with some amendments. We wanted it expanded so that, and so we're making specific proposed amendments to expand it to include impact of sandbags, walls, tarps, rocks, placed in the shoreline, sand pushing, and coastal restoration on beach processes. So that's our proposed amendment. It is to expand this measure to be much more inclusive.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other testimony on House Bill 88? No, seeing none. Chair Chang, if you could just provide a written copy of your testimony to the committee clerk right here, and then we'll make sure to make copies and distribute it to the members.
I apologize for not getting that to you.
No worries, we'll take care of it. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the last bill on our agenda is House Bill 535 relating to hunting. Chair Chang, DLNR.
I'm getting used to this.
Get a rhythm, just get a rhythm.
Thank you very much, Chair Chiyama and members of the committee. DLNR opposes this measure, and we stand on our written testimony because we believe it's not necessary, as we have an existing program that's quite effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have testimony from Brian Lay, Hawaii County GMAC. Okay, testimony and support. Dominic Souza, Gray Boar Wildlife Services. And support. Nicole Galase, Hawaii Cattlemen's Council. Support. Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau. And support. Nani Pogline. In support. Michael Rice. In support. Okay. Ryan Arakawa. Support. Parker Powell. Support. We have several late testimonies, some in support, some in opposition, but none have indicated that they would be present. Is there anyone who would like to offer additional testimony on House Bill 535? Please come forward and let us know your name so we can look for your testimony.
Good morning, committee. I'm Todd Yukutake with the Hawaii Firearms Coalition, and we support HB 535. This bill will support expanded hunting opportunities. Oh, sorry, I didn't provide written testimony yet. It'll also promote hunting to a new generation of hunters and protect those hunting rights. And we believe that the Certified Hunter Program is a cost-effective way to deal with the overpopulation of game mammals. It's not going to cost the state money, but it'll enable hunters to help control the population and also save that meat for their families and the community. So we support HB 535. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yukutake. Anybody else like to offer testimony on House Bill 535? Okay, seeing none. Members, any questions? Rep. Morikawa.
Yeah, for the chair. Hopefully soon to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, your testimony, I can see, your testimony is saying that it's duplicative of the program that you have now.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but however, it doesn't seem to accomplish what this bill is trying to accomplish, which I think is a lot of good things that we've been discussing for many, many years with the farmers and hunters. So I'm just wondering, if we pass this, are you able to make one good, strong program?
That's what we would prefer is, or perhaps letting us reassess in light of what you're proposing here. Is there a way that we can enhance our existing program without adding any additional expenses or lapse of time? But I think we've heard a lot of people who are supporting this, who obviously want to see our existing program improve. So what I will commit to is that we will go back, we will review the proposed language and see if there's something that we can come in to make an amendment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
Thank
one
you.
more.
Oh,
Sorry.
cool. Yes.
Chair. Don't mean to overstep, Vice Chair. Is this going to interact with Maui County's intent to call its access deer population? I mean, because it seems like they're the county council is interested in expanding hunting licenses or doing something else associated with that.
Yeah, I can't speak on behalf of the county. I think access deer undoubtedly is an extremely difficult issue. So we're trying to deal with that, and we don't believe that this is necessarily the tool to do that. But I think we will go and look with what Maui County is proposing to do, and see if there's some way that we can expand and collaborate with them.
And my only concern is that there's going to be a bunch of bills flying out in the next few
No.
months, you know.
Yeah, fair enough, and I think we've heard Senator Morikawa and many people here, the need to look at our existing hunting program and see if there's a way to enhance what we've got to address and make the program better.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Just a real quick follow-up, Chair. If you wouldn't mind providing that information that Rep. Morikawa requested to my office, and make sure it's distributed to the members of the committee.
I assure you, we will do that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further questions, we're at the end of the agenda. We're going to recess for decision-making. Recess. Okay, good morning. Thank you. We are reconvening the Water and Land Committee on our 9 a.m. agenda, Tuesday, January 31st, conference room 4:30. Thank you so much, members, for your patience as we went through all the bills. First up, we have House Bill 15 relating to real property liens. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, and we are going to defect the date to the new official defective date, as I was informed, June 30th, 3000, and we'll see how long that lasts. But I just wanted to explain to folks who may be watching, the reason that we put a defective date on our bills is not because we want it to take effect in the year 3000. It's simply a legislative tool that we use to show that the bill is still a work in progress, but it's not meant to be any type of negative or detraction from the bill. It's simply a tool that we use as bills move throughout the session. And at the end, we will clean it up to a good date, and we will not have to wait another 1,000 years for it to take effect. So I just wanted to let everybody know. So when we defect the date, it'll be June 30th, 3000, until I'm told otherwise. So recommendation for HB 15 is a House Draft 1 to defect the date to June 30th, 3000. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 15, House Draft 1. House Bill 15. Chair recommends passing with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting all members present, are there any members? Okay. Noting all members present, Chair Linda Ichiyama, Representative Vice Chair Mahina Poi Poi, Representative Chun. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Representative Chun.
Aye.
Representative Ganaden.
Aye.
Representative Hashem.
Aye.
Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Takayama.
Aye.
Representative Souza.
Aye.
Good job, our first vote.
All right, wow.
Chair, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, everybody. All right. So this is everything go fast. House Bill 109 relating to county zoning. Based on the testimony we heard today, the chair's going to defer this. Moving on to House Bill 562 relating to permits. We are going to take the DLNR amendment to page 1, line 10. Provided in their testimony, making sure that we're in compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program. We're also going to defect the date to June 30th, 3000, and technical non-substantive amendments. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 562. Chair recommends passing with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. Next, we are on House Bill 365 relating to special management areas. Chair's recommendation is to move out of House Draft 1, June 30th, 3000. We're also going to take the amendments proposed by Office of Planning and Sustainability. We're going to keep the 7,500 square foot area as is. We're also going to make the amendment on page 7, line 8 to clarify that it's Hawaiian traditional and customary practices. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none.
Voting on House Bill 365. Chair recommends passing with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Seeing none, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Next is House Bill 201 relating to historic preservation. I'd like to continue the discussion on this bill. I think it still needs some more work. But I would like to maybe look at what other states have done on their definition of a historic property. So the recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date July 30th, 3000. Technical amendments. We're also going to add in the DLNR amendment, and it will apply to properties that are 50 years or younger. And then we're going to keep the 100-year as, I guess, the bright line. So the factors that DLNR proposed in their testimony will apply to properties that are 50 years and younger. And I think we'll see how this discussion continues through session. So recommendation is to House Draft 1. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 201, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Seeing none, the chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 202 relating to historic preservation reviews. Again, I'd like to continue the discussion on this bill. We're going to defect the date June 30th, 3000. I want to add in also a blank appropriation to SHPC. I think they're going to need some money to hire people. And I'm also going to change throughout the bill from the the language that would mandate SHPD to hire a third party to may, so that it's permissive. And they will have the ability, the discretion to decide on that third party review. Okay, members, any questions on House Draft 1? Okay, seeing none.
Voting on House Bill 202, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? The Chair's recommendation is adopted.
Okay, next House Bill 361 relating to the Green Jobs Youth Corps. Had a lot of good testimony on this bill. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1, effective the date June 30th, 3000. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, question.
Voting on House Bill 361, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? The Chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Moving on to House Bill 184 relating to commercial ocean recreation. Okay, a lot of good discussion on this one, and I appreciate the folks who came out to testify. We're going to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date June 30th, 3000, technical non-substantive amendments. I also want to take the Ocean Tourism Coalition amendment to exempt vessels inspected by the U.S. Coast Guard. Okay. Members, any questions?
Not question, comment, Chair. Thank you for that amendment. If anything, this bill has taught me a few new things, and I appreciate that. And I just hope that your amendment will solve the issues with the. Thank you.
I hope so too. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Rep. Morikawa. Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 184, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Noting the presence of all members, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Okay, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you, members. Moving on to House Bill 200, relating to vessels. Recommendation is to pass a House Draft 1, just affecting the date June 30th, 3000. Any questions, discussion? Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 200, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Okay, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. House Bill 153 relating to state water code penalties. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1. We're going to adopt the DLNR amendments to increase the total cap on the fines from $5,000 to $25,000. We're also going to add a blanket appropriation and 2 FTEs to help them with enforcement. We're going to defect the date, June 30th, 3000. I think that's it. Members, any questions? Okay, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 153, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Seeing none, the Chair's recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. House Bill 88 relating to coastal erosion. Recommendation is to pass out a House Draft 1 adopting the DLNR amendments to include the other types of, how do I put it, tarps and other stuff that are being used in addition to the burritos into the scope of the study. We're also going to defect the date, June 30th, 3000. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair.
Voting on House Bill 88, Chair recommends passing with amendments. Noting the presence of all members, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Seeing none, the Chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you, members. Last bill on our agenda, House Bill 535 relating to hunting. We had a good discussion on this one. I'd like to keep that going, so we're going to pass out a House Draft 1, defecting the date to June 30th, 3000. I also want to note in the committee report some of the concerns that were raised in the Farm Bureau testimony. Members, are there any questions, comments? No? House Draft 1.
Voting on House Bill 535, the Chair recommends passing with amendments. Noting all members as present, are there any members voting nay or with reservations? Seeing none, the Chair's recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. We are adjourned.